In his own words, L'Jarius Sneed is as healthy as he's ever been, speaking at his third annual youth football camp last week. I'm Justin Graver alongside Justin Melo for the Music City Audible channel. Mini-sode here today to talk about L'Jarius Sneed's health. Now, Justin, we know L'Jarius Sneed has a chronic knee issue that the Titans were well aware of before they traded for him. It requires a lot of management in season. He doesn't practice as much as your typical player would. He's a veteran, a very accomplished veteran, so you don't necessarily need him to practice as much. And the knee issue didn't seem to be any kind of concern throughout last season. The problem with L'Jarius Sneed last year was the quad injury that popped up. He ended up playing only 5 games for the Titans last season before that quad injury shut him down. But he says he's as healthy as he's ever been. Now, he didn't participate in any of the spring practices on the field for the Titans. He was in the building, he was around the facility, in team meetings, likely doing a lot of rehab, but not taking part in any on-field practice. What are your expectations for L'Jarius Sneed as training camp begins, knowing that he is, quote, as healthy as he's ever been?
Well, this is a tough spot for the Titans, I think, because number one, when you acquired him, as you said, you knew there was going to be a lot of what do they call it in basketball? Workload management kind of thing. He's not going to practice a lot. We got to keep him healthy. But he gets here, he's nowhere near the caliber of player they thought he was going to be in 2024. Then he gets injured. It's this weird quad injury where they didn't put him on IR for over a month because they were taking this week to week. Oh, he's going to be back. And then after, more than a month of him not coming back and making no progress on it whatsoever, they put him on season-ending IR because they're like, well, this thing's a lot more difficult than we thought it was in relation to the quad injury. He doesn't participate, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, none of that, no physical participation. Brian Callahan calls him out essentially one day at the podium. I mean, maybe I'm using calling out's a bit strong.
I think everything that he's shown us when he's here has been fantastic. And there's a track record of success as well from what he has been as a player. But he's also got to prove that here too. He hasn't done that yet for us. So,
basically said, we got to see him be that type of player here. We know what he was in Kansas City. Hasn't been that here for us. We need him to be that. We need to see it. The situation they're in, I don't think you can keep kind of treating him with kid gloves, in all honesty. Yes, they've got to find the right balance, and I don't know how you strike that, and I don't envy them, to be honest with you, because I'm at a point where it's he's got to do something, right? You can't keep we call it kid gloves, can't keep treating him like a superstar and just not letting him do anything when he only played in 5 games last year and didn't play well, right? And there aren't a lot of guys, period, in the league that can take the kind of time off he's taken, not practice at all, and then just come back and play at a high level. This is the National Football League. He's got to ramp up and he's got to get ready to play against the caliber of players that's going to be asked to cover. They've got to figure out what that balance is. The reason for this mini-sode is, as you said, he hosted his 3rd annual football youth camp near his hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. He's a Louisiana native, played college ball at Louisiana Tech, was a under-recruited kid and an underdrafted guy, 4th-round pick, who's really, obviously rose above those expectations. But he hosts a youth football camp there near his hometown. Then he does an interview with a local reporter. This is what he has to say about his health. It's essentially the update that Titans fans have been waiting for.
I'm healthy as I've been. Last year, my first year didn't go as planned. But, it's time to come out and, show the world and show what God been instilling in me this entire year. I'm ready to get back on the field, and that's my life. That's what I do for a living. And I missed the whole year, and, I have to remind everybody who L'Jarius Sneed is.
And I certainly hope that's the attitude he takes this season, because looking at and this is never the best way or the only way to evaluate a player, but if you look at his PFF grade from last season, 36.3 overall grade, 212th out of 222 cornerbacks, 36.8 coverage grade, 209th out of 222 cornerbacks. He was an actively terrible player for the Titans last season.
What's so interesting about the PFF grade, and I've gone back and forth on it a little bit, keep using their analytics. Opposing quarterback rating he gave up. How many catches did he give up versus targets? All that stuff is actually fine. Those numbers are not bad at all. It's a little bit tough to resonate that, if you will, with the overall coverage grade. But I will say, where I do give PFF some credit for almost going against their own metrics and giving them this bad grade, despite the stats not being terrible, when you watch the tape, it really did feel like he caught some breaks, right? There were some incompletions thrown in his direction where he's way out of position, balls are underthrown, overthrown, he got lucky on a number of occasions, and I'm going to assume that's why PFF said, well, despite him not giving up a whole lot of catches, his completion percentage rate is good. It was like 50-something%, I think, if I recall correctly. The opposing quarterback rating, what was it, 77, 78, if I were, again, good. So the reason we're going to give him a bad coverage grade, despite those things, is, boy, he got lucky a whole bunch of times in those opening, 4 or 5 games.
And the other reason that he's so key to this team is the contract that he signed. He's one of the highest paid Titans on the roster right now. And when you look at the rest of the cornerback room, obviously we know who the starters are going to be. It's Jarvis Brownlee Jr., it's Roger McCreary, and if healthy, it's L'Jarius Sneed. But the rest of that room is Darrell Baker, who filled in admirably for Sneed last year. It's 6th-round draft pick rookie Marcus Harris out of Cal. It's Gabe Judy-Lawley, a former undrafted free agent. It's Jamari Harris, an undrafted free agent this year. Clarence Lewis, Davion Ross.
Those are other UDFAs this year, both of those guys.
Jalen Kimber.
Yeah, and a veteran corner they signed. I'm going to butcher the name, but he's bounced around the league. He's in his 6th or 7th year now, I think, at this
Amani Oruwariye.
If it's not L'Jarius Sneed, it's Darrell Baker or Marcus Harris, right? And you brought it up on a recent episode. In terms of the contract, as large as it is, they can move on from it next offseason, right? Like, they can get out of that deal, save a large chunk of money, and absorb a manageable dead cap hit. Not an ideal dead cap hit, but a manageable one that you take on the chin if he doesn't bounce back this year.
Because it saves you money. It's like the dead cap is a sunk cost at that point. It doesn't matter that you have dead cap. The dead cap is over $8 million. The cap hit is over $20 million. So you're saving about $12 million if you let L'Jarius Sneed go after this season. And I've been thinking about this since we did that episode. I said something to the effect of, if he is anything but an amazing all-pro level corner, this is his last year on the Titans. I've rethought that. This is his last year on the Titans. Like, it does not matter what happens this season.
I thought you were going to walk it back the other way.
No, based on the contract, based on we want to be a draft and develop team, and just based on the amount of cap savings they can have, there's a reason they cut Harold Landry when they did. It was because the production didn't match the cost. The cost for a cornerback who's going to be in his age 30 season compared to the savings, this is L'Jarius Sneed's last year in Tennessee.
What if he's great?
If he is great, maybe they renegotiate a deal, but he will not play on that cap number in 2026 in Tennessee. So for him personally, if he wants another contract, another big contract, his last chance to get one, he's got to have a big year. So for him personally, there's a lot at stake. And for the Titans team, this isn't the season that they're going all in. Obviously, Cam Ward's rookie year, they're going to see what they have in the rookie class as a whole and see how competitive they can be this season before possibly next year being that year that they look to say, we're competing now. And because of that, L'Jarius Sneed doesn't match the timeline. Now, if he is really, really, really good this year, and they are competitive enough to say 2026 is the year we're going for it, then maybe there's a chance they keep him on the books because of that. But I think it's way more likely that they try to negotiate a new deal with him or draft or sign a cheaper cornerback to replace his spot going into 2026. So 2025, huge year for L'Jarius Sneed. Personally, the Titans need him to be good if they want to achieve their goals, and they're going to compete in their minds for at least a wildcard spot or the division. Now, fans may have more realistic expectations or not, because we are fans. Media is going to have way less realistic expectations. The Titans are not going to be projected to win anything this year. Their win total in Vegas is 5.5 wins. They're not expected to be a good team this year. But if they are a good team this year, one of the reasons will be because L'Jarius Sneed showed up and, in his own words, reminded everyone who L'Jarius Sneed is.
I'm not as ready to be as bold as you are and say he definitely won't be here, but I will say this. I think you're probably going to be right, only because I don't have any faith in him. Like, I need to see, I'm in see it to believe it territory. This has disaster written all over it. And I'll tell you what, if it doesn't get significantly better, if it wasn't for A.J. Brown, we'd be talking about potentially the worst deal in at least Titans era history, because everyone always forgets the Ken Houston deal back in the Houston, way early since I wrote the book, in the Houston Oilers days. That one was a disaster as well, but most of us weren't even alive back then. So, but if it wasn't for the A.J. Brown deal, I think we'd be talking about this L'Jarius Sneed deal as one of the worst in modern day Titans history.
Yeah, it is one of the worst trades that the Titans have made, and that's why Rand Carthon's no longer the GM. Justin, I'll close this out with expectations for L'Jarius Sneed over the next few weeks. The Titans report to training camp 3 weeks from today, the day of this recording. So let's talk about expectations, because like you said, there needs to be a ramp up. There needs to be competition at training camp. I expect we'll see L'Jarius Sneed participating in individual drills when training camp opens, but not participating in team stuff for the first week or two. when the pads come on, that's when, in my mind, he's got to be ready to take part in the actual team period practices. I don't expect him to play a single preseason snap. Maybe if there's a game where the Titans like run out their starters, maybe he plays one drive in the entire preseason, but I would be surprised if he played at all. So really, we're going to have to follow these training camp reports, see what his participation level is, and then we'll get that week 1 injury report before the Titans head to Denver, and that'll be very telling with where he's at, because if he's not a full go in those practices, which is about 10 weeks away now, then that's going to raise the red flags for concern. We're a long way from that point. Let's see if he shows up at training camp and what his participation level is.
Yeah, I'll add this. I think it's real. I want to follow the tone that he has when he speaks for the first time at training camp and Brian Callahan's tone regarding him, because I'm not saying he's lying or anything like that, but I think it's really easy to do an interview in your hometown of, near your hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, and say that you're healthy. And in a clip that I don't even know he expected to reach Nashville Titans media and all that, like, that felt like a very local thing. I want to see if the tone is the same. Like when Brian Callahan gets to the podium for the first time at camp and he's asked about L'Jarius Sneed, does he say he looks healthy, he's going to participate, all that? Like, that's what I'm going to be monitoring as well, because I'm not putting too much stock into this quote at a football youth camp in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yes, shout out to KTAL NBC6 News in Shreveport, Louisiana for the clip. That'll do it for this mini-sode. L'Jarius Sneed, what are your expectations for L'Jarius Sneed this season? How healthy do you think he'll show up to training camp? What is his participation level going to look like? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Head to sinkersbeverages.com and check out the in-crowd and the link in the podcast description to the Sinkers 40th birthday jamboree. We'll be back tomorrow talking about Brian Callahan's play calling and evaluating that. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Until next time, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.